The dust from the 2025 Tanzania elections hasn't even settled yet, and we already have reactions from different stakeholders, including the African Union. Today we break down what the African Union said, why they said it, and what it really means in the African political language. Well, because the African Union never really shouts, it speaks in carefully curated, polished sentences. The African Union statement was as usual diplomatic, firm, and politely worded. They expressed concerns on number 1, reports of arrests and intimidation of opposition leaders. Number 2, concern over alleged restrictions on media. 3, concerns about limited transparency in parts of the electoral process. And last but not least, a call for calm, peace, and non-violence. With all that's been happening around the 2025 Tanzania elections, one would expect the African Union to come out and condemn the actions by the police in the way they handled protesters, in arrest of political opponents, and how generally the political processes weren't handled in a constitutional manner. Well, instead, they didn't accuse, they didn't condemn, and they didn't point fingers. And that's because the African Union rarely does. Instead, they used the signature AU tone of, "We urge all stakeholders to respect democratic principles, uphold human rights, and ensure an inclusive political process." This is AU standard language for "we see what's happening, we are not impressed, and we want everyone to behave." Well, why would the African Union feel compelled to speak in the first place? That's because for years, Tanzania has enjoyed a reputation as one of East Africa's most politically stable countries. So when things begin to look messy, with arrests of opposition figures, accusations of rigging, media restrictions, governing bodies like the African Union pay keen attention. The timing is also important. Tanzania is a strategic economy, a trade gateway, a peaceful tourism hub, and a key country in East African diplomacy. Unstable Tanzania is dangerous not just for itself, but for East Africa, SADC, and the African Union. So the African Union statement was not just about votes, it was about regional stability. The AU has 2 missions that are often in conflict. First, support sovereign African governments, and 2, promote democracy and human rights. So when a government is accused of silencing opponents, restricting media, or blocking rallies, the African Union has to choose its words carefully. They can't embarrass a sitting president. That causes diplomatic war. But they also can't ignore the pressure from civil society organizations, activists, observers, and international partners. So the African Union used the middle road language: dialogue, peaceful resolution, inclusive democratic space. This translates to, hey, everyone needs to calm down, talk like adults, and stop acting like Twitter warriors. So what exactly is the African Union avoiding? Interestingly, the African Union did not condemn the Tanzanian government over the alleged police brutality, arrest of political figures, and media silencing. They did not declare the election illegitimate, nor call for sanctions, nor demand a recount or election rerun. This tells us that the African Union wants a de-escalation, not confrontation. In this case, the silence is also a message. If the African Union thought Tanzania had crossed the line beyond repair, the tone would be sharper. However, it should be noted that there have been reported cases of police brutality, arrests of civilians and protesters, arrests of key political figures in the Tanzanian political space, electricity blackouts, and talk about the media silencing. All these need to be called out, and the fact that the African Union is playing middle ground does not de-escalate the problem, rather it amplifies it. So what does all this mean for Tanzania? The African Union statement puts gentle pressure on the government. Do not panic the markets, do not scare the tourists, those are important. Do not damage Tanzania's international image and don't give ammunition to foreign critics. It also gives the opposition a political shield, a reminder that the world is watching, a signal that their complaints are being recorded, and most importantly, a soft push for dialogue, not chaos. My key takeaway from this is that the African Union is trying to prevent Tanzania from sliding into the same political pattern we've seen in other African countries, where elections stop being contests and become coronations. The African Union spoke softly but clearly. Don't break the democratic culture Tanzania is known for. But the real question still lies. Is this enough to make an impact? Is this enough for people to be heard? Is this enough to show that other African countries that enough is enough? So whether the Tanzanian leadership listens and whether the opposition stays peaceful, well, that's the real story to watch. Thanks guys, thank you for watching, and tell me what you think down below in the comments. It would be lovely to hear what you guys have to say about this situation in Tanzania. Thank you, see you in our next video, bye.